Events, there was a man named Tom who found himself behind bars. Tom had made some very poor choices in his younger years, choices that led to him hurting people and getting involved in things he shouldn't have. He had robbed a store, and during the robbery, things went wrong. Someone got hurt, and Tom was caught. He was sentenced to a long time in prison. At first, prison felt like a nightmare. The walls of the cell were cold, and every day seemed the same. Tom would wake up, eat a tasteless meal, and stare at the dull walls for hours. He couldn't escape the thoughts of what he had done. The guilt weighed heavily on him. Tom had no one to talk to, and his family had stopped visiting. He felt alone, abandoned by the world. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Tom started to give up. He told himself that maybe this was where he was supposed to be, that he would never change, and his past would always be his future. The guards treated him like everyone else, and his fellow prisoners didn't offer much comfort. Most of them were only interested in surviving, not in changing or learning. Then one day, a man named Mr. Parker, an older prisoner who had spent many years behind bars, noticed Tom sitting by himself. Mr. Parker had a reputation in the prison for being wise and patient. He was someone who had made his own mistakes but had found peace over time. He was now trying to help younger prisoners like Tom avoid making the same mistakes he had made. "Hey, you look like you're carrying the world on your shoulders," Mr. Parker said one afternoon. "Mind if I sit down?" Tom didn't feel like talking, but something about Mr. Parker made him want to listen. "I don't know what to do," Tom said, his voice heavy with frustration. "I've ruined everything." Mr. Parker nodded slowly. "I've been where you are, my friend. Prison is tough, but it doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning of something better if you're willing to change." Tom wasn't sure what to make of this, but Mr. Parker's words stuck with him. Over the next few days, Mr. Parker took the time to talk to Tom whenever he saw him. He shared stories about his own life and the lessons he had learned the hard way. He told Tom about the importance of self-reflection and how taking responsibility for his actions was the first step toward healing. "Don't think of prison as just punishment," Mr. Parker said. "Think of it as a chance to learn, to grow, and to become a better person. There are things here that can help you, but you have to want to change." At first, Tom was unsure. How could he ever change after everything he had done? But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that he couldn't keep living in the past. He didn't want to be stuck in a cycle of regret and anger, so he decided to give it a try. Tom began reading books about self-improvement, about understanding his past, and about how to make amends for the harm he had caused. He joined a prison group where other prisoners talked about their experiences, shared their struggles, and helped each other find ways to cope. Slowly, he started to feel different. He was no longer just a man in a cell waiting for time to pass. He was a man working on becoming better. As the months went by, Tom began to feel a sense of peace that he had never felt before. He realized that his past mistakes didn't define him. He wasn't a bad person. He was someone who had made bad choices, but he was capable of changing. He started to set goals for himself, small goals at first, like improving his behavior and helping other prisoners when he could. Over time, he became known for his positive attitude and willingness to help others. The guards began to notice the change in him as well. One day, after several years, Tom stood before the judge again. It had been a long time since his first trial, and in that time, he had worked hard to make up for his past. He had taken responsibility for his actions, had completed education programs, and had even helped organize a group for other prisoners who wanted to turn their lives around. He wasn't the same man who had entered prison. The judge listened carefully to Tom's words, looking at the changes in him. "It's clear that you have worked hard to better yourself," the judge said. "You've taken responsibility for your past actions, and you've shown that you're committed to making a positive change. I'm willing to give you a second chance." Tom's heart raced as he walked out of the courtroom. For the first time in a long while, he felt hope. He was not leaving with just a second chance at freedom. He was leaving with a second chance at life. He knew that he would face many challenges on the outside, but he was ready. He was no longer the person he had been when he entered prison. He was someone who had learned from his mistakes and who now had the courage to start anew. As Tom walked out of the prison gates, he looked up at the sky and smiled. Please like and subscribe.